Premier Li Qiang's nonsense about risk reduction. Chinese Premier Li Qiang visited Germany and delivered a speech at the closing ceremony of the Sino-German Economic and Technical Cooperation Forum, addressing the issue of Europe and the United States wanting to reduce risks with China. European and American officials have been discussing not decoupling from China but instead aiming to reduce risks. In response, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokespersons and wolf warrior diplomats have criticized Europe and the United States, saying that risk reduction is essentially a disguised way of decoupling from China. Premier Li Qiang also criticized Germany's intention to reduce risks with China in his speech. However, perhaps due to the diplomatic setting of his visit to Germany, he refrained from direct confrontation like the Chinese wolf warriors and instead attempted to appeal to emotions and reason, using himself as an example to persuade Germany to abandon the idea of risk reduction with China. He mentioned that German cars dominate the market in China, holding a near monopoly in some areas. Throughout his career, he has been provided with German cars as his official vehicle. During his 5 years working in Shanghai, he also used a Volkswagen car produced through Sino-German cooperation. He never felt any risk when using German cars. Even when undergoing medical examinations at hospitals, he used CT and MRI machines manufactured by the German company Siemens, and lying there, he never felt any risk, feeling perfectly safe. Therefore, China has never perceived any risk issues and has no intention of risk reduction. In other words, since China does not seek to reduce risks with Germany, Germany should also refrain from doing so with China. Li Qiang's speech received widespread applause. As it was a Sino-German cooperation forum, the audience consisted mainly of Chinese or friends of the Chinese people, so regardless of what Li Qiang said, it would have received enthusiastic applause. Li Qiang appeared very pleased, evidently believing that he had delivered an excellent speech. Chinese state media also praised Li Qiang's eloquence, deliberately excerpting this part of the speech and spreading it on the internet, with a headline applause at the scene. However, in reality, Li Qiang's speech was very mediocre, even entirely nonsensical. He substituted concepts, employed fallacious reasoning, and distorted the meaning of the phrase risk reduction used by others. Why do Europe and the United States propose risk reduction with China? Of course, there are political considerations behind this, aiming to suppress and contain China, but it is not purely political. If it were purely political, decoupling would be necessary. Emphasizing non-decoupling from China implies that there are still economic considerations. Some time ago, China implemented a zero-COVID policy, frequently shutting down factories and ports. Shenzhen Port and Shanghai Port were both closed for a period. However, China claims to be the world's factory, and with these closures, supply chains were disrupted. Therefore, during that period, the economies of European and American countries were significantly affected. Although China has now abandoned its zero-COVID policy, claiming that the pandemic is over and life and work have returned to normal, who can guarantee that similar incidents will not occur in the future, shutting down factories and ports again? Who can guarantee that there will not be future conflicts, such as China invading Taiwan or China becoming closely tied to Russia and providing weapons to Russia to invade Ukraine, leading to sanctions from Western countries? In such a situation, supply chains will still face problems. To mitigate risks, Europe and the United States propose not overly relying on China alone but instead investing in and building factories in other countries, especially in Southeast Asia, and seeking new sources of goods. It is clear that when they speak of risk reduction, they are referring to supply chain risks, emphasizing the need for diversification of investment and supply, commonly known as not putting all your eggs in one basket. However, the examples Li Qiang provided, such as feeling no risk when driving German cars or using medical equipment from Germany, all relate to product usage risks, which are entirely different from the product supply risks that others are discussing. Although both involve the word risk, they are discussing different issues. Li Qiang's use of these examples is a clear case of substituting concepts. European and American countries have also identified certain Chinese products as risky and are hesitant to use them. For example, Huawei's products are considered to pose national security risks, so they dare not use them. However, can you reassure others to use Chinese products by saying that you dare to use their products? This is completely unrelated. If they are not confident in using Chinese products, how does your confidence in using foreign products reassure them to use Chinese products? If they consider Huawei phones risky and dare not use them, can you reassure them to use Huawei phones by saying that you do not consider Apple phones risky and dare to use them? If they consider Chinese medicines and food unsafe and dare not consume them, Can you reassure them to consume Chinese medicines and food by saying that you believe German medicines and food are very safe and dare to consume them? Bringing completely unrelated issues together as reasons is fallacious reasoning. During Premier Li Qiang's visit to Germany, he held a joint press conference with the German Chancellor. This press conference was very unusual in Germany because both leaders simply read from prepared statements and did not take questions from reporters. Perhaps they were afraid of being asked difficult questions that Premier Li could not answer, causing embarrassment, so they decided in advance not to accept questions from reporters to save face for Premier Li. This is unprecedented in Germany but customary in China. Chinese leaders often do not accept questions from reporters, and even if they do, official media reporters usually prepare questions for them in advance. It may not be feasible to prepare in advance in Germany, so they simply decided not to take questions from reporters. This can also be considered a form of cultural export from China. Premier Li Qiang's speech at the closing ceremony of the Sino-German Economic and Technical Cooperation Forum was also read from a script, including the aforementioned statements, which were likely written by a secretary, not by him. Although it was written by a secretary, he still read it with great satisfaction, indicating that he fully agreed with the content and believed that it was well written. His expression while reading was very pleased, showing no awareness that these statements were distorting the meaning of risk reduction mentioned by others or engaging in fallacious reasoning. Therefore, this speech reflects Premier Li Qiang's level of cognition. As I have repeatedly mentioned before, China is currently ruled by old red guards, and a major characteristic of these old red guards is their lack of knowledge, audacity, ignorance, illogical speech, and extremely poor cognitive abilities. Such cognitive abilities would be troublesome even for a village chief, let alone for a national leader. How can they confront the high achievers in Europe and the United States? They only end up making frequent fools of themselves, including becoming the subject of international ridicule.